California. What are the vibes there entering year 2 of the Harbaugh regime?
You know, it's really interesting because Jim Harbaugh came in with a bang. Everybody in LA was so excited to have him, still is, but it was a really disappointing end to that first season with that blowout loss in the playoffs to the Houston Texans. So I think going into year 2, everyone's going to looking to Harbaugh to establish that playoff team that can make a deep run, especially with Justin Herbert still at quarterback.
And we mentioned it off the top, no Trey Harris, Adam. Welcome to the program. In LA thus far, which isn't really news. A lot of these second-round picks are unsigned. What do we know about Harris' situation as the Chargers rookies have already reported?
Well, Phil, 30 of the 32 second-round draft picks have not signed. Obviously, every second-round draft pick wants what Jayden Higgins got in Houston, what the Browns linebacker got also. They're looking for guaranteed money of second-round draft picks, and teams and second-round draft picks currently are in disputes over how much money, guaranteed money, a second-round draft pick can get. So this Trey Harris holdout is nothing unusual. It is par for the course in the second round, and it'll be interesting to see if and when a breakthrough does occur, which team or player or agent gives in first.
Well, we know, Adam, you mentioned it, not alone. 30 of 32 remain unsigned. This is going to be a story across the NFL in the coming weeks. When Harris does report to camp, he's got a pretty good QB waiting for him there. Over the last 2 years, Justin Herbert has posted the second-best touchdown to interception ratio of any QB. We forget because of the 4 picks in the wild card loss. The only guy on this list better than Herbert, 4.3 touchdown to picks, Lamar Jackson, who won an MVP in that span, and you could make a cogent argument he deserves another. Jayden, what have you been waiting patiently? You heard Lindsay talk about year 2 under the Harbaugh regime for the Bolts. What do you think is kind of the barometer for a good season this season in LA?
Yeah, listen, I think you're one of those 3 teams in the AFC West that I expect to contend for the playoffs, along with Denver and the Kansas City Chiefs. We know what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to establish the line of scrimmage, play with a level of physicality, obviously running the football, but they have a Ferrari at the quarterback position with Justin Herbert. I've said many times, if you're drawing a quarterback, in the lab, it would be a guy like Justin Herbert. So when you look at the weapons that he has around him, obviously it's called Lamar, who had such an outstanding rookie season. He has the speed, the route running ability. You got Quentin Johnston, the former number 1 pick, who's kind of been a disappointment over there. Obviously, Mike Williams is coming back, and Adam touched upon Trey Harris, the big play wide receiver out of Ole Miss. I think the question mark is how much juice can they get? How much juice can they get out of this passing game? Because when you're talking about the AFC as a totality, you're going to need explosive plays. You're going to need to score points in bunches in order to try to separate yourself and be one of those contenders in the AFC.
Damian brings up the passing game that they have to have, and they do. But this team also is always going to be about running the football, and it's going to be a new backfield for the Chargers this year, led by the first-round draft pick Omarion Hampton. They signed Najee Harris. It'll be interesting to see if he's going to miss any time at all with the superficial eye injury that he sustained on July 4th in a fireworks accident. So there are some running backs there, new faces in the backfield, and you know that Jim Harbaugh always is going to look to pound the rock.
Last season obviously was a disappointment for this Chargers offense, but Greg Roman did point out Justin Herbert now, this is only the second season in his 6-year career that he's had the same offensive coordinator for consecutive seasons. Going into this point of training camp, he is much further ahead than he was a year ago. They've made some adjustments about how they run their installs and how they do things. So going forward, Roman says that Herbert could basically run practice himself. That's a lot different than what it was a year ago when he was trying to learn yet another new scheme. So watch for Justin Herbert to be ahead, but it's going to come down to the run game.
Yeah, and Herbert missed time last summer as they were installing the offense with an injury as well. So he's healthier and he's more familiar with the offense.
And more weapons outside in addition to those we named. Keandre Lambert-Smith also joins Ladd McConkey entering year 2. All he did was break the franchise record for receiving yards and catches, then put up 197 and a touchdown in that wild card loss to Houston. The guy throwing the ball remains less certain. Cleveland, the Browns traded for Kenny Pickett, then signed Joe Burrow, then traded all over the draft, drafted 2 more QBs. Kevin Stefanski was asked how he planned to split reps across that crowded QB room.
obviously there's that old saying, you treat everybody fairly but not the same. It's related to that. You know that there's guys that need to get X number of reps. There's guys that don't. I mean, Joe is 40 years old, has seen a lot of football, has played a lot of football. He does not need as many reps as the young guys do. So I tried to be smart where we can still give Joe an opportunity to get better, an opportunity to be evaluated, while also maybe shifting a few of those reps to the younger guys, and then mixing it up throughout. We had multiple guys in there at multiple spots, and that's kind of the way we've looked at doing business here the last 3 weeks with 9 practices, where we just want to see a lot of these guys in a bunch of different situations.
That is a voice that has become very familiar to Daniel Leofrusi, our Browns team reporter, here with us. And Daniel, we got 4 quarterbacks currently healthy on this roster. Any sense what the plan is? 4 quarterbacks once camp opens next week in Maria?
Yeah, well, it was a fascinating spring when you have 4 quarterbacks out there who are vying to be the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. And I think it was interesting to hear what Kevin Stefanski said about the spring, where it was more of a teaching and an installation process. But he acknowledged that that's going to change once we get into the summer. We're looking to evaluate this crop of quarterbacks. And obviously, as you said before, they broke up the reps to get the rookies a lot of reps. When we talk about Shedeur Sanders and Gabriel, but I think that as we get closer to the start of the season, you have to look at the vets when Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett is maybe being ahead of the crop. I think that we're going to see that a little bit. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders has been at the center of this. We saw a trend where he didn't get a lot of first-team reps. Does that change? He impressed with his progression, with his accuracy. They love what he's doing in the building. But can he crack that group and get to the first team?
It's interesting, Daniel, because I think you've got the race for the starting job, and then you've got the race to see who even makes the roster. There are 4 quarterbacks, and it's hard to imagine that the Browns are going to keep 4 quarterbacks on their opening day roster. And if they're not keeping all the quarterbacks, you would think that they're going to keep both the draft picks, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, unless one of them falters terribly. So now we're down to, okay, who sticks? Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett, and whoever does stick probably is the favorite to win the starting job, and whoever doesn't stick could be traded to another team, could be released. We'll see how it all plays out. But it's really interesting to see. This might be the most interesting position battle of any team anywhere in the league as training camp goes. I'm curious, Daniel, did any quarterback jump out to you during the spring? Just your opinion.
My opinion, Shedeur Sanders really did stand out. Again, all of those skills that we talked about, pre-draft, the poise, the accuracy from the pocket, we saw that. But the caveat was it was with the second-team offense and against the second-team defense. So that's why I'm really interested to see, can he crack that rotation and get some reps with Myles Garrett pass rushing against him in those summer practices.
The other interesting thing about the Browns situation is you have, Joe Flacco. I'm not going to call out how old he is, but then you have these really young guys. This last week I was in Kansas City talking with Patrick Mahomes, and he was asked, what led to so much of your success here? And among all the other intangibles that obviously Patrick